and we are doing a Unit 3 test on Friday. So I know you won't be here. You could do it Thursday at tutorial, yeah. So we just have our last real quick new material today, and then we're practicing, and then Wednesday we practice a bunch, and then we just do the test. So I put a note on the bottom. You can start preparing for it already. You could do some old REPLs. You could do some old Google Forms. You don't have to wait till Thursday night at 9:30 to start thinking, oh no, I have a test tomorrow. So, all right, here's what's up. Our last Unit 3 material is using dot equals. So we've already been doing this with strings, so this isn't a big deal. If we want to compare primitive values, though, we use double equals or not equals or greater than or less than, that sort of thing. Like if we had two variables A and B that were integers, we could say if A is equal to B. But if we're comparing strings or other objects, we actually have to use dot equals. And here's why. Dot equals is actually checking if the two variables are actually exactly the same variable, like literally the same content. Not even the same content, literally the same, pointing to the same place in memory. So look at this. I say string A equals tiger, string B equals A. This will print true because they're now literally, there's two variables, A and B, pointing to the same thing. If I went ahead and changed A to be something else, B would be that thing too. Or if I changed B to be tigers with an S, A would be the same thing. They're literally two names for the same place in the computer. So that's why double equals works fine here. Yes. We're not calling it that, but could be. It's just two names for the same thing. So I don't think it's a pointer. It's just two names for the same thing. I've heard one of the people on the AP Classroom call it alias, but that's not the same as a pointer. Here's a different example. String T equals a string, and I put the text in there, what? String U is a string, and I put the text, what? So you think they would be the same. But in this case, this code, it prints false because double equals is not with strings. It's not checking, hey, is this the same string? What it's checking is, are these literally pointing to the same place in memory? And in this case, we're not, because I created two different variables. Here's T and here's U. And if I'm saying, hey, are T and U the same thing? No. I know it feels wrong, and I wish it was a little different. I wish it would just say, are you sure you want to be using double equals with strings? Because like when you try to run, it could just stop you or something. But there are obscure times when it would be helpful. Anyway, the long and short is use dot equals if you want to check if two strings are the same. But you can't use dot equals with primitives. So if you're checking if two integers are the same, you have to use the double equal sign. Questions? So here's an example. Please enter an all lowercase phrase. I have them do it. And then I'm checking, hey, if not phrase dot equals phrase to lowercase, your phrase was not all lowercase. Otherwise, thank you, nice work. So this is a way to test if what they entered was lowercase. I make it lowercase here and then check if that's equal to what they entered. And if it's not, then I say it wasn't all lowercase. Otherwise, I say thanks. You'll have this slide deck in a second. That last piece of information, this was something that popped up on our Unit 2 multiple choice questions. There was a double with a capital D, and I apologize for that. You being faced with that problem before you were taught it. So here you go. We've got primitive variables like int, double, and Boolean, but we actually have what these things, they're called wrapper classes, like a wrapper that you wrap something up in. We have integer with a capital I that is actually reference data. It's not a primitive anymore. And we have double with a capital D that's not also not a primitive anymore. They had to make these in Java because there's some cases later in the year we'll learn about where you have to make a list of things and it can't be primitives. So they just made doubles with a capital D and integer with a capital I that act pretty much the same, but are they have methods, and they have other things that you can use. But for us, we're going to use them just like integers or doubles. So they do come with these variables. There's a fixed, a constant, which is integer.max value. It prints the maximum value for integers. Integer.min value prints that number. We've talked about these numbers before. I just for kicks this year looked up double max value. And oh my God, look at this number. It's 1.7 with 308 zeros after it. That's a pretty big number. So that's a legit big number. You could that's these things. They just obviously they decided for doubles, we're going to make it so big that we don't have to hit a ceiling anymore. So I mean, there's a ceiling. You could make a number bigger than that. Just make that number and add 1 to it, and then it would roll over to the smallest double. But we're not gonna. You don't have to know double dot max value for. So technically, once you create a capital I integer or capital D double, you could just use them just like you would use an int or a double. Java will automatically translate between them. So you can actually use double equals to compare them. But there is this thing called int value, which they used to want me to teach you in this course, and it might show up on the test. And it just means turn this into an integer. Instead of a capital I integer, turn it into a primitive. Give me the primitive version of this. So if it was 5, capital I integer 5, that is an object, fine. If you wanted to get it turned into a primitive, you could say int value. If you use this, if you try to use that code just like this right now on REPL, it tells you that it's deprecated, which means Java's getting rid of it. So they're not probably going to put it on the test, but it does still show up in the docs. So I'm showing you int value, so you just don't freak out. I don't know about int value. Well, it just turns that capital I integer into a small I integer. Yeah.
I mean, Java's like getting rid of like it, so it's not used anymore?
It's cleaning house. Yeah. Deprecating something in programming means you've told everybody we're not going to allow this at some point, but for now you can still do it. But we recommend you not use it, but we're still going to support it for a little bit or something. So maybe they might give people 5 years to just like clean up their code, but then at some point they're going to say, hey, Java version 9 or Java version 15 can't do that anymore. Yeah. It's funny. Yeah, they do. I don't know why they get rid of things, but this thing, it's lame. So I don't know why they ever had it in the first place. All right. So that's it for our notes. We have a REPL today.